Okay.
Hey guys, and welcome to Tnashi's Movie Corner, and for today's review, I will be reviewing Jessica Jones, the Netflix TV Marvel series that recently came out, about 13 episodes long. Was created by Melissa Rosenberg and stars Christian Ritter, Rachel Taylor, Ika Darvin, and David Tennant, as well as Carrie-Anne Moss and Mike Coulter. So anyway, so this series, a former superhero decides to reboot her life by becoming a private investigator. Alright, fair warning, there will be spoilers for this series. I'm trying not to spoil everything. I'm going to try to be vague to an extent, but there will be some spoilers in it. So going over this, I haven't gotten into my review of the Daredevil series. I will do that at another point in time. But coming off of that and onto this one, this show looked like that it was even more dark than the Daredevil series was, which I thought was actually pretty dark, which is interesting because it counteracts kind of the Marvel movies that you get. So anyway, going into this, I'd actually already heard some stuff about it, heard some good things about it. I will say up front, I think the acting is pretty good overall. I think Christian Ritter does a really good job of portraying the Jessica Jones that they want you to see in this series. I think Ika Darvin as the neighbor Malcolm, he has such a big character arc, and I think he did a great job. And David Tennant as Kilgrave, which he was our villain for this show. I think acting wise, he gave a brilliant kind of performance to the character. He really, or at least I really liked his performance as a character. So, getting right into it, as it says, you have Jessica Jones, and she is a PI, and we kind of get introduced to her in that manner. But one thing I don't like, and I know I'm already starting down the path of what I don't like, but one thing I don't like is that we really don't see that much of her actually doing private investigating. It doesn't occur that much in the series. There isn't as much focus on it, and they get straight into Kilgrave, which Jessica Jones as a character, she has quite the history with Kilgrave, and he is like the kind of be all end all villain. The what you would see for like Spider-Man with Green Goblin, or even Venom. Like Iron Man with the Mandarin. He's kind of like the be all villain of kind of her life and what he's done to her and everything. And he has this power of being able to control people and have them do whatever he wants. And so you can imagine where that went. But they just kind of threw him in there all of a sudden. Just at the first episode, they didn't have any build up on what her life before him, and so I really didn't care for that. Like I said, the acting was pretty good overall. I find it interesting. Mike Coulter plays Luke Cage, and he was in the series, and I don't buy his relationship with Jessica Jones at all. I don't like how it came about and how it kind of parried back and forth. Also, Luke Cage, he had some cool powers, but for the most part, he was just kind of eye candy. And I find it interesting that a lot of people that defend this series are talking about how strong a character Jessica Jones is, which I'm going to get into. But at the same time, Luke Cage kind of fills in the spot that they kind of be like, oh, well, she's not this type of character, this type of that's just in there for eye candy and everything, but that Luke Cage is, so it's okay. It shouldn't be okay in reverse. Anyway, getting into it, honestly, the series kind of dragged out for me. You had a couple characters that were in there, I think, for no reason. I don't see the real significance of them. Carrie Ann Moss, her character, and her kind of ex-wife, and then her newly fiance. They didn't really play much of a part in the series, so I didn't really care for them that much. I think Will Travel, I could be wrong on him, but I think he was a cop in it, and I didn't really care for him either. Like, I didn't care for the arc that he had. I felt like it was forced and unnecessary. Getting into Kilgrave, I thought the performance that was given to Kilgrave by David Tennant, I thought the performance was great. Performance just excellent. But Kilgrave himself, he had this kind of likability to him, which was interesting given some of the horrible things we see that he's done. But they had the potential to really go into his kind of psyche and explore that, and they didn't. It just kind of had a throwaway line, and his past was a little muddled at times. And Jessica Jones as a character, I mean, I'm just coming around and say it, she's a bitch. That's just who she is. That's her character. And it's funny because I initially thought that the way that she was like that was because of her being under Kilgrave's control and everything that he had done and all this. But no, we see flashbacks in which she's still the same person. So she's really one of these quote-unquote superheroes, except she doesn't really care. And she doesn't really have an arc to her. At the very end of the series, at the last episode, she's the same way as she was at the very beginning. And I don't like a lot of the choices that she makes overall throughout the series. There's some plot issues that don't make any sense to me with her. So I really didn't care for her in that aspect. And there are darker aspects of it, but they're only dark to an extent. They don't cross over, I guess, a certain line. So I really don't know that it's necessarily darker than Daredevil. I think it's kind of about the same. But the other interesting thing is they keep they'll throw in little lines just to mention that they're in the same world as what we've seen with the movies, except the movies are so much lighter that it kind of conflicts with that. So I almost wish they'd be their own separate thing, because it's just too big of a jump between this series and, say, the Avengers. There's too big of a tonal difference in it. I don't think it works very well. And then the conclusion to the series, it kind of ties everything up. And I kind of didn't like that. I wanted things to progress longer, and I don't like how they executed the ending, how it came about, how things got wrapped up. I don't actually like that. I don't buy into that. It doesn't really work for me. So I'm curious as to what your thoughts are. But again, I think the performances, for the most part, were good. I like the performances themselves. I'm not such a big fan of the characters, minus Kilgrave, which is probably the wrong character to be a fan of. But again, the performance that David Tennant gave, I think, really lended itself well to Kilgrave. And he had a power that should have been really scary, but the ability to control people, but it just wasn't. So I don't know. This show for me had a lot of issues. It had some good parts to it, but I felt like I was kind of dragging myself to finish it. So I didn't watch it all in one day. I don't have the time to do that. But even breaking it down, I found myself wanting to stop after an episode, not because of how dark it was and just kind of the emotion of it, but just because I found myself struggling to go through it. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some episodes that were actually pretty good. I liked them pretty well but they're individual episodes, and comparing it as a series for a whole, I didn't find myself enjoying it that much. Not to the extent that I was hoping for, at least. So anyway, going and giving this a rating 1 through 10, I'm gonna go kind of low here on the rating, to be honest with you. I think there's just enough there to warrant putting it here, but I don't ever see myself watching this this particular season again. So I'm hopeful the other seasons will be better, but I'm going to give it a straight 5 out of 10. It's in the middle ground. I'm just not going to revisit it, but I don't think it was horrible to the point where, it deserves a lower rating. And I think it has enough, at least acting wise, in it to keep it at that middle ground, but I just can't go over. But anyway, guys, yeah, so I think I did a pretty good job here of not spoiling too much. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. Have you seen the series? Are you interested? And so on. And what did you like and dislike about this series? Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace.